Hello, this is the Apple Creek Seventh-day Adventist Church's Communications Department coming to you with a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We will be engaging Dr. McIntyre, a psychologist in supervised practice, in a brief discussion on mental health in light of the current unprecedented health crisis we're all facing. Welcome, Dr. McIntyre. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. The term mental health is on everyone's lips these days, would you say?
Yep.
How would you define mental health, and how does this aspect of our health factor into this global predicament?
Yes, mental health refers to the psychological well-being of our ability to cognitively and emotionally cope with intellectual, social, and existential pressures. During this global crisis, we're experiencing many different types of stressors, such as intellectual stressors, such as how are we going to find a job if we've lost a job? How are we going to continue working if we still have one? And how are we going to manage our economic issues? There's also social stressors, such as how are we going to manage our need to connect with others, or how are we going to manage our need for personal space if we're constantly around others? And there's also existential stressors, such as will I catch COVID-19? How many people around me are going to die? Or why would God let this happen to us on earth?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a lot of stressors. Some people, though, may consider these the norm. Nothing to worry about. They're to be expected anyway. But will they just go away if we ignore them? Or could these stressors have adverse effects on our well-being and thereby needing our attention? What do you say?
Well, these stressors can cause us to have spiraling negative thoughts that may lead us to be either excessively anxious or depressed. There are many people who actually develop unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as overeating, overspending. They may lose their temper, or they may even engage in self-harm activities. However, these stressors do not have to be anything bad, which they can give us like opportunities to help us grow and also to be resilient.
Resilient. Huh? This last line resonated with me somewhat. I consider it a bit of relief. It's good to know that some good can come out of this after all. Now, let's focus a bit on dealing with the negatives. Not to be negative here, but this is what we need help with, right? So Let's focus a bit on it. So with all these closures of schools, workplaces, churches, and other mandated closures in effect, some, dare I say, individuals are likely to be struggling with coping skills. Please use the next few minutes to address this. Share with the viewers some coping strategies or tips that you have that will help them to foster preservation of their mental health.
Yes, sure. I think that there are many ways that people can have negative coping mechanisms. I'm going to focus on anxiety, which is, I think, something that many people are experiencing right now. So one of the ways to help control some of your spiraling thoughts is to do a technique called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. It's kind of like a little game that you could play with yourself, with your family, with your partner. It's like you trying to find 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you could smell, and 1 thing that you could taste. So Grace, try to find 5 things right now that you can see.
Whoa, I love games, but didn't expect this one. Anyway, so I can see walls. They're all around me. You're not going outdoors anyway. And I can see a stove. I'm in the kitchen.
Okay.
Fruits. There's a clock and chair.
All right. I think so. So with the 5 things that you can see, it's good to actually look at them and really notice the textures of the things that you're seeing, also the colors. How do you feel about the colors? You might even, like if you look at the fruit, it might even remind you of things that, a vacation that you went to or an experience that you had that was particularly good. As you go through these, you will start to notice that your anxious thoughts, you cannot think of them anymore because you have to think of the things here and now.
Right. No multitasking, huh? So even just for the few seconds where I was just listing those things for you, I realized that I had to focus, turn
Yeah,
off everything else and focus. So I can see how that would work. That's good.
definitely.
Anything else?
Another idea is if you are someone who's working at home right now, you may
Mhm.
actually find that your worrying thoughts are intruding on your ability to get things done. And one thing that you can do is have a worry pad, which is essentially like a little notepad that you put at your workstation. And every single time you are working along and you just kind of think of something that you need to do or you're anxious about, you can write it down on your worry pad. And when
Mm.
you get a time for a break, or whether you do it at the end of the day, you can look over the items on your worry pad and determine whether they are things that are within your control. If they are things within your control, then you could determine what you actually need to get done, what you need to actually delegate to someone else. And if they're not things within your control, then you need to actually cross those things off your list. They're not that important for you to do.
Mhm. Are you saying that I'm a worrywart? Because I do that to myself. But anyway, right now I want to focus a little bit on the little people in our midst, the children. Some of them don't have a clue what's going on. They know that people are getting sick and have to stay home, but they don't know why they can't see grandma, why they can't play with their little friends, why they aren't going to school. It's not quite clear to them. What suggestions you might have for parents of those little ones?
Yes, definitely. The worry pad is actually something that you can use with your children as well. You might want to tweak it a little bit. I think
Yeah.
that there is this really cool idea of the worry box. So you could get like a tissue box or something and have them decorate it with whatever decorations they can use, glitter or anything, markers. And when they're finished with it, you can have them write down their worries. And every time they're worried about something, you could take a little piece of paper and they could put their little worries inside the box. At
Mhm.
the end of the day, especially before bedtime, many children get very anxious and they have trouble sleeping. So when they put their worries in this worry box, you could tell them that you're going to keep their worry box safe within a closet or a drawer. And the next morning, they could take one of the worries out of their worry box and you can go through it with them, talk with them about why it's bothering them and what solutions at the moment that they may have. And if there is no solutions, it still gets them talking about their anxieties. So you're not pushing their anxieties aside, but you're addressing it appropriately.
Of course. I like the idea of engaging the children in making this box, get them active. And
Yeah.
never mind the children, I'm going to do this. I like it. Anyway, so these are some very, very helpful tips. And I'm sure someone watching out there will find these very useful. There might be those who are feeling hopeless at this time. They're feeling alone, overwhelmed, and engulfed by despair. Now, what encouragement would you leave with anyone feeling this way? Do you have any final word of hope for the viewing audience, Dr. McIntyre?
Definitely. I think for every trial, God has a hidden blessing for his
Yes,
people.
true.
With each trial that he gives us, it is to strengthen our faith in him until he comes back for us. I'm reminded of the text from Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Also, Psalms 23, verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and staff, they comfort me.
Hmm. Well, viewing audience, you've heard it. This is solid advice we can all embrace while we weather the storm together. Thank you, Dr. McIntyre, for your very pertinent and timely words. In Deuteronomy 31, verse 8, God's promise is reiterated. He will never leave nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. This is Grace Lawrence saying, so long, and God bless you. Now stay home if you can. Be safe. Bye-bye.